Okay, so when you start the reading and writing section, they're going to start you off with kind of like vocab questions, if you want to think of it like that. Um, so, if you look at the words, I mean, those are pretty easy words, but it's really more about context more than anything else. So if I read it, in recent years, new technologies have challenged, that's kind of a key phrase, established models of business communication, forcing many companies to rethink their traditional practices in order to blank customer evolving needs, in order to meet, I'd say, their needs or satisfy their needs. So I wouldn't say to relate to their needs or to perceive, to understand their needs, to change their needs, but to accommodate their needs would probably make sense. So I'll go with that one. Okay. So number 2. For many members of Kenya's Mid-Chenda tribes, wild fruits are considered hardship foods, eaten mainly when individuals are far from home. For others, though, the collection of plants such as Chrysoterra and Saba, whatever, is a blank activity and thus occurs regularly when the fruit can be sold at local market.
Commercial.
Okay. Yeah, commercial, totally right. So it's all about business, right? Okay, let's look at 3. The physician author Atul Gawande has argued that much like particle physics, modern medicine has become far too subtle and complex to provide blank. With so many different kinds of therapies available, it is often impossible to say which one will be most effective. So go ahead, certainty. Yeah, I'd agree. Yep. Yeah, because again, they're saying have become far too subtle to be certain, right? With different kinds, it's impossible to say which one, so you can't be certain, right? Okay. Well, since you're getting the hang of it, what do you think about 4?
Probably predictable or identifiable.
Hold on.
Social scientists have found that people have a tendency to how
it's neither of those two. It's actually unique. It's gonna be A. Because they overestimate how unique they are. They think they're unique when they're really not. Because actually they have a lot in common.
Okay, yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. What do you think about 5?
Probably benign.
Yeah. Yeah, because
yeah,
more than just something that's like harmless, right? It costs a lot of money, right? Exactly. Because benign means harmless. Okay, now we're gonna start getting so that's one question type. And there's 27 questions. I think this one might have more in this set. It's supposed to be 27. No, they did this correctly. Okay. They did the timing correctly too. That's good. So the second type is going to be, I say like reading comprehension, but it could be a variety of things. It could be like, hey, what's the main idea? Or how does this sentence function as a whole in the passage? Or again, main idea, what's true about something, prime purpose of the passage, maybe a quotation that goes with the passage. Then there'll be some data stuff, which is still a little bit of reading comprehension, but not so much literature based, but more can you read the data correctly and also answer the question they want. So we'll see a couple of those, right? But I don't want to get too carried away because we'll talk about the other question types when we get there. So now let's take a look at 6. So I'll read this one out loud and then we'll talk about it. So plant biologist Zhu Feng has had a long interest in fossil plant insect interactions and their coevolution, finding evidence of insect damage of varying types in the fossil record. In 2013, he discovered an interesting pattern of insect damage in living plants. Symmetrical holes punctured through the leaves, which you realize looked the way they did because insects fed on the leaves while they were folded. Because this type of damage is common in these types of plants, which hold their leaves in a vertical position at night, Banks figured that might also be present in fossilized specimens as well. Okay. So he made a discovery.
So I think A.
Yeah. Is how he was able to discover it, right? Why Fawn developed an interest. Not why he developed an interest, I wouldn't say that. Calls it a hazard that plants must defend against themselves. Discuss the type of leaf damage present. Not necessarily that. Yeah, I'll go A. This is the main idea one. The old woman knocked at a little door. It opened. She led Candid up a private staircase to a small apartment richly furnished. She left him on a brocaded sofa, shut the door, and went away. Candide thought himself in a dream, indeed, that he had been dreaming unluckily all his life, and at the present moment was the only agreeable part of it all. Okay, so I wouldn't say feel isolated necessarily. Don't want to say D either, but I kind of like C because they do talk about that. He thought himself in a dream.
Yeah, and
He'd been dreaming
they,
unluckily all his life, but not that dream in
yeah,
particular. Yeah, so you gotta be careful with A.
C.
And B also because he found the apartment to be agreeable. Yeah, but yeah, is very pleased by himself. Uh, yeah, I'd probably go C on that one because that's the only one that seems true. The other ones don't seem true at all. So let's do another main idea one. Go ahead and try this one right here. I'll read it to yourself and let me know what you think.
Which text? Okay. I think it's B that the Sears mail order catalog provides insight into the
Yep.
evolution of
Yeah,
retail.
exactly how retail was like back then. I'd agree.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a little tricky. So we gotta keep an eye on algae bloom. So I usually like to read the question beforehand. Just so I know what I'm keeping an eye out for.
Like this, I have a lot of I get random emails from school. I got one from, I have a UC thing with school and it's with it too. And then I got it around. I wasn't with all the names or all the kids. I got that bag. I did it when I applied for that. I know when I applied for that. I did not know what was that. I said why. I was like that. That's all. No, but.
I think it's B.
You got it. Yep, it's B. Correct. Yeah, and the reason why it's B. They say geologist Barbara Karpa and Mark Clements proposed that increased volcanism in the Andes may have been the determining factor. However, actually read it beforehand. So recently, the cooling was attributed to carbon dioxide run out of the atmosphere by this. The mountains were positioned to deliver ash to both Pacific Atlantic Ocean, providing nutrients that led to global explosion of marine life. However, an excess of nutrients of water could also have resulted that polluted the whales. So this excess of nutrients probably came from that. Yeah, so that's why you get B. So good. Okay, awesome. Good. Okay, another prime purpose one. We'll do this one together. Measurements from ancient and dormant galaxies show that black holes expand more than expected, aligning with the phenomenon predicted in Einstein's theory of gravity. This goes to suggest that it is unnecessary for researchers to add anything new to their conception of the universe in order to account for dark energy. Black holes combined with Einstein's gravity are the source.
My theory is
Okay.
D seems right.
Yep. To discuss validity and existence. Yeah, exactly. Discuss how valid it is, right? Yep. Because it exists and they're agreeing with it. Correct. Good. Okay. So you're seeing how you gotta think critically about it, right? It's you know, you're actually answering the question they want, you know, not just pick something what seems true or that's mentioned in the passage, but you actually are truly reading the questions. That's awesome. Okay, this is old English stuff. Pride and Prejudice is an 1830 novel by Jane Austen. The novel, the protagonist, Elizabeth Bennet, rejects a marriage proposal from her suitor, Mr. Darcy. First, she reconsiders after seeing his family estate, Pemberley. For Elizabeth, a beautifully arranged landscape is a mark of good taste, and also makes this attitude clear when she writes. Okay. So something about a beautifully arranged landscape and the family estate. She rejects a marriage proposal, but then she reconsiders when she sees, oh, well, this guy's got money. Maybe I should marry this guy. You know, that's kind of what they're saying, which is a lot of these 19th century British literature stuff. It's about women, you know, feeling like disenfranchised, but they want more equal rights, right? It's kind of the precursor to women's rights in the early 20th century, if you want to think of it that way. So that's just kind of the assumption I'm going into with it. But the assumption's pretty much true, right? Because that's what they are trying to say, that, yeah, she'll consider marrying this guy because it's a very beautiful property. So what do you like?
C.
Totally, yep. Because every disposition of the ground was good, and she looked on the whole scene, the river, the trees scattered and spanning, the winding of the valley, as far as she could trace it with delight. Good. You know, I got some data. Well, sometimes you can eliminate choices just by looking at the choice and see if it's true of the data, but they're just listing the X value. So we can't really eliminate data right now, but let's just read it and see what they want, see what makes sense. With each passing decade, however, the number of cars on the road in the United States has increased. Okay. In fact, at the beginning of the 21st century, America's owned were chiefly by cars in the 1960s, where people were also purchasing cars than they once did. Although cars have consistently outnumbered drivers since the mid-20th century, the gap began to widen around. Okay, when did the gap widen between drivers and cars?
2000.
Yeah, I'd agree. So I'll go C on that one. Oh, actually, never mind. They say B.
1990. Oh, began to widen.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, that's still debatable. No, I remember this one being a bit debatable. But I guess it's pretty wide by 2000. So, all right, whatever. Let me okay. Can you still read it?
Yeah.
Okay. So just trying to understand the data, it looks like they have these different reasons for something and agree, neutral, disagree in different regions, it looks like. Okay, I gotta read this. Rooftop gardens have been adopted in many urban regions around the world in order to provide fresh fruits and vegetables to residents who might otherwise lack access to them. Mira Nawal and Sandeep Thaman surveyed members of rooftop gardening program in Bhojpur and Kutang districts in Kathmandu, Nepal, in order to assess their experiences growing different plants. Although most participants plan to maintain their gardens, residents of both districts emphasize that certain aspects of the growing program need to be improved. To address the concerns expressed by the majority of the gardeners in Kutang, Nawal and Taman conclude that additional research should be provided for.
She's on the kitchen table and she's like writing. And then.
So I think what I'm trying to say here is
Hmm.
yeah, the more although most parents plan to maintain their gardens, certain aspects need to be improved. Okay. Okay, so they say majority of the gardeners, right? Okay. So
I think more training, so education.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, because if you think about it, not many agree. Yeah, definitely that's a majority. And it's still a decent number that are neutral about it. So only 26% disagree. That's one that's truly a majority. And that's pretty close to majority as well.
Hmm.
So yeah, so education, I'd agree. Because not pest control, because insects, not quite a majority. Water access, nah, irrigation wasn't that bad. Pricing, no, exactly. Cool. All right. And now we're done with data. So now we move on to another question type. These question types are more logic completion. So you're trying to find a phrase that logically completes a text. And you'll see, and there's also transitions as well. Yeah, you see transitions come up. And then when we get to 19, we'll start getting the grammar. So let's look at 14. Then we'll do 15. Then I'll have to try 16, 17, 18 on your own before we hit up grammar. Okay. Architecture historically evolved in parallel with the technical development of reinforcements. As advances in processing and shaping metals occurred during the second half of the 19th and early 20th century, concrete structures reinforced the iron and other metals to create more flexible and adaptable spaces. Consequently, newer buildings blank. Okay.
Parents work against you, right? In
Probably D.
I mean, I know your mom wants it. Well,
Yeah, I believe so. Let me double check. No, it's not D actually.
Oh,
So let's read more carefully. Hold on. Architecture has historically evolved in parallel with the technical development of reinforcements. As advances in processing and shaping metals occurred during the second half, concrete reinforced iron and other metals to create more flexible, adapt. So the spaces are more flexible and adaptable.
so A.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Right.
Right, no. Yeah.
Okay, let's look at 15. Creating unique melodies from proteins is achieved by using a protein music algorithm, which begins by identifying specific elements of proteins, such as the size and position of amino acids. Blanket maps them to various musical elements to create an auditory blueprint of the protein structure. So it's kind of like saying as a result.
So thus.
Well, subsequence can be a little bit better. But I don't disagree with you. I think thus could work. Moreover, is what's like saying also. So like when you're giving another reason, but you're giving more of a concluding statement. Otherwise, you're doing a bit of a contrast, which we're not really doing, and otherwise it doesn't make sense here. But let me
Actually, I
see
think subsequently seems like it actually would work better.
it is what follows. Yeah, so the keyword begins indicates that the passage is describing first in a series of actions. The following sentence describes the next step, so the correct word must be used to convey a sequence of events and mean next or after that. That is a person definition subsequently. So A is correct. Moreover is a continuer. Yeah, it's like saying also. Otherwise a contradictor. Thus is cause and effect. Yeah, so I think we've got to be a little more deliberate and have a sequence of events. All right, let's take a look at 16.
Furthermore,
No.
5 million years
So read
after,
carefully.
or however,
Yes. Yeah. Because scientists have long theorized that scorching hot ocean conditions prevent the development of complex life, blah, blah, blah. However, discovery dating back says the comet were present just 1 million years later, right? Yeah, you're definitely contrasting. Okay, about 17.
specifically.
No. So it's more like as a result. To read again, an intensive study of a group of plants that invaded emerging deserts millions of years ago concluded that these pioneers had developed adaptations of such stress while living on dry, exposed rock outcroppings with the moisture areas and even tropical forests. As a
Oh, so
result, the
it's
plants known as rock days were well equipped to invade. So it's going to be consequently.
okay, because it's talking about how like the pioneer plants were
Right.
like adapted to
Correct.
like moist environment. Okay,
Right.
and then
Right.
the arid plants came in. Adaptation.
Okay, we can go to 18.
Specifically.
Yeah, good. Yeah. So you are being very specific at this point. Yeah, good. Okay. Yeah, I always find those a little tricky sometimes, the transitions. Okay. Now we're gonna move on to grammar. Let's see here. All right. Took over 5 years for New York City Public Library's main building to be constructed. More than 1 million books were sent places to total dedication. Blank, the first patron filed a slip to request a book and received it only 6 minutes later. Okay. So definitely have to start a new sentence because it's gonna be a run-on otherwise. So I'd say C in that case.
Yeah. I agree.
Because
I agree.
yeah, precisely right. Yes, move on 20.
A.
No, let me explain this one here. This is a tricky one. These are called modifiers. So a modifier is a phrase that describes something in a sentence. So something's measuring 17 million acres in area. And so what's actually measuring that? Not the species, right? The force itself measures. So whatever you're talking about has got to come right after that description. Otherwise, it's called a misplaced modifier. So this is called a modifier. It sounds kind of weird because like when I think of modify, I think of change. But really what they mean by that is description. And you got to be right next to it. Let me show you a quick example. Of modifiers. And once you get the hang of them, you'll never miss them. And these just show up like every once in a while. Maybe once or twice. An elementary school teacher from Arkansas, increased funding support for public libraries, what Bessie Bowmore advocated for. So who was an elementary school teacher from Arkansas? Not the funding, public support, but Bessie Bowmore, right? So you gotta say Bessie Bowmore as a teacher,
Okay.
right? So that's what we have to say for that one. So yeah, so that's how I'd handle that one there. Yeah, you can see there's more mistakes like that. So again, that's what's happening there. So I just want to give you an example. So, all right, let's look at 21. So now we're looking at punctuation. What do you think about this one here?
B.
Actually, you're gonna go C. You never put a comma before the title for a person's name. You kind of just say it all the way through.
Oh, I
Um,
did not
so
know
it's gonna
that.
be C. It's gonna be C for that one. For example, if you were to say like, Vice President Kamala Harris, traveled to the Bay Area for a fundraiser, or she's challenging, Vice President Kamala Harris is challenging former President Donald Trump to a debate. You wouldn't put a comma between Vice President and Kamala Harris. You just say all the way through. Whenever you put the
Okay.
title before someone's name, so you just say all the way through. So that's why it's C. All right, let's keep on trucking here. So this one's interesting. So I see a semicolon. A semicolon is like a period. Anything you say before and after a semicolon must be a complete sentence. But C seems interesting too, because C seems like that'll be a run-on. Like if I had a semicolon for C, I'd love C a lot. But B, I don't think I'm feeling that one because I don't think it's going to sound like a complete sentence after the semicolon. So if you, so I kind of told you B and C don't work. Read it, and what do you like?
D.
It's actually A.
It's A.
Yeah, so read it again. Relative to the majority of the deep sea, the areas around hydrothermal events are biologically more productive, often hosting complex communities fueled by the chemicals dissolved in the vent fluids.
Oh,
Because you're not saying two things. If you're saying it does this and this, then sure, you gotta say and. So that's what's happening with that one. Okay, this is back to punctuation again. We want, when you have apostrophes, usually they're gonna be possessive. So what do you think about this one here?
I think it's either C or D. I think it's D.
Yeah, because you're not doing possessive for the ecosystem. And it's more than one island. It's an atoll. I mean, should you have known
Oh,
that?
I didn't even see
No, if
the
you even didn't know that, that's
apostrophe
fine.
and
That's
ecosystem.
fine. I mean, you don't. Yeah, even if you didn't know, they didn't give you an option that was like island apostrophe s ecosystems without an apostrophe. They didn't like try to trick you like knowing if it's singular or plural possessive, because then that'd become a vocab situation in that case. But yeah, good, okay. So this is back to punctuation again. So whenever you have a dash, you need two dashes actually. Because what's happening is that when you have a phrase in the middle that's not essential, not needed, we call a non-essential clause. You usually put two commas, two dashes, or parentheses. So why do we have it in the first place? It's just nice to have. It's like, does your car need leather seats? No, it's nice to have. Or does your car need air coolers? Coolers in the seats. That's nice to have. So, you know, it's just a description, but the sentence would sound fine without it. Like if I were to read it again, during World War II, the 688th Central Postal Directive Battalion worked around the clock 7 days a week, processing more than 65,000 pieces of mail. So you didn't have to say the first battalion of Black women ever to serve in the United States military overseas. You didn't have to say that, but it's nice to have as a description. And you're not gonna go D because it's not a complete sentence after a week. Like processing more, that's gonna be incomplete because it's gotta be a complete sentence. We're gonna before and after a semicolon. So I'm gonna go with C on that one.
I agree.
But just keep in mind that you have, you know, something called non-essential clause. That's another thing that's tested on. Okay. One more grammar, then we have something called rhetorical analysis, I think, or synthesis. And then we'll do some more practice after that.
All right.
Okay, what do you think about this one here?
A.
I agree. These here, I don't really, my students don't really struggle too much with these, but okay. So they wanted to introduce different types of artificial intelligence using tornado prediction. They don't really talk about artificial intelligence in the first bullet point, nor the second. Third one they do. The fourth one they do. And the fifth one they do talk about different types. So I probably want a mixture of the third, fourth, and fifth bullet points in my answer, not caring so much about the first or second bullet points, as that's kind of irrelevant. So what choice do you think would encapsulate the third, fourth, and fifth bullet points?
Probably B. Wait. B.
But you want to also talk about the types as well.
C.
Yeah, see, yeah. Because they say machine learning, which is artificial intelligence. Because when we say these techniques, it's referring to artificial intelligence. Of course, if you know a thing or two about artificial intelligence, it does use machine learning, where you train a machine on some data to act a certain way, right? Or to provide a certain function or feature. The student wants to introduce Georgina Schuler's role in changing the public's perception of the Statue of Liberty to an audience unfamiliar with that person. Okay. So definitely the last bullet point, I'd say for sure. And maybe the fourth one as well.
It's definitely not the first two.
Right. Wait, actually, hold on. Wait. It's not the first one. Let's look at the second one. That introduces her.
Oh, I meant like of the bullet points.
Oh, got. Oh, sorry. Okay, then I kind of gave away the answer there. It's B. Yeah, because it does introduce her and turns to a symbol of welcome by successfully lobbying to have Lazarus' poem, the New Colossus, inscribed on its base. So. All right, cool. So that kind of covers you know, what to expect on the grammar. So let's do this. Let's this is a little quiz. Actually, let me back up. Let me stop the recording right now.